Alright, back again. Yeah, Andy. So I guess it's end one. But yeah, I'm not going to do much of this. But, I figured it was going to have to happen. Just because I can't give him the last word on these false premises and such. So let's just play with this really. I mean, there's a couple of points that are just perfect.
Well, guilt and denunciation to the bitter end.
Yeah, just a plain, straight-up commentary. Okay, you're either intelligent or you're not intelligent. We've been through this. Okay, you pretend to accept premises that you don't accept. So it's just a lie to premise a conversation where you're saying something that you're not saying. You say you care about the guy in the prison cell, yet you don't care about somebody else who suffers, somebody who's raped or a slave or some other thing. So, I mean, it's just bullshit. It's just grotesque hypocrisy and a lie. You don't give a fuck. You want to be an animal. So if my animal nature enjoys watching fail videos because, okay, it's funny. People fail. It's funny. And my intelligence can know this is bullshit, okay? People are getting hurt for no good reason whatsoever. It's nonsense. And I'm not supposed to recognize that the intelligence is smarter than my nature. You don't accept that premise. Intelligence is smarter than your nature. You don't accept that premise. And so what am I supposed to say to that as an intelligent person? I think that's fucking idiotic. You deny intelligence you just pushed it off the table. You didn't explain why intelligence is wrong. Right? You just told me I don't care. I don't want to care. It's too much trouble to be intelligent. It's too much of a burden. It's too difficult. I don't like it. That's all you're saying. You don't like it. It's not an argument. It's mush. It's baby talk. I don't want to.
I suppose it shouldn't have surprised me, and I guess it really didn't, that was going to be the response.
Well, how can I respond to again, somebody, I mean, I can create all kinds of scenarios. I'm going to sit there and saw the train tracks because I'm curious. I mean, it's just so overtly unaccountable. You do not sit there and say, and not even concede that this circumstance we exist in, number one, that human beings have got ourselves on the brink of disaster. Not even to concede that. To concede that the ecology of the planet is ugly in many respects. The attrition rates are huge. You concede none of it and just presume that nature must have got it right because it's a DNA molecule, and just look how huge the DNA molecule's brain is. Oh, that's right, it doesn't have one. So you're saying a brainless creator, a brainless God, did it right. And you're just curious to see the mess, the monster it made, and you want to just watch the monster bang into the brick wall and the blood spurt out. And that's your answer to me. I'm curious. And I'm not supposed to say, oh, fuck this bullshit.
More and more and more guilt and denunciation.
Well, again, I couldn't have been more clear. I don't give a fuck about your fucking guilt. Guilt is a byproduct emotion. You have to have a sensitivity first. You have to have some sense in your brain of right and wrong before guilt can mean anything. If you don't acknowledge the existence of good outcomes and bad outcomes, and that they have decidedly different character, okay, that a bunch of people in a train that crashed and a train successfully getting to the station are decidedly different things, decidedly different outcomes. If you can't figure out that those are different outcomes, and you can't figure out that you sawing the tracks was completely circumstantial to the outcome, then I have no help for you. Okay, your denial of reality is so fucking preposterous, so insanely preposterous. You're denying fundamental facts, and you're saying to me, I'm supposed to understand that? No, I can't possibly understand that.
And after a while, that kind of takes on a air of kind of desperation when you see that.
Oh, yeah, right. It's desperate for Albert Einstein. If Albert Einstein's sitting there and he's talking to a fucking 3-year-old and he says, well, you know, I have a theory about light moving and blah, blah, and the baby goes, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I think Albert's going to say, what am I doing this for? Okay, this thing doesn't even know what a photon is, for fuck's sake. Why am I talking to an asshole who doesn't even know what a photon is? I mean, he doesn't know whether it's a wave or a particle or anything. He doesn't even know it exists. How can I have a conversation with this fucking idiot? This drooling idiot. Yeah, so yeah, that's right. I'm done.
Your tools are failing. And that's why I think that what...
well, again, it's not my tools that are failing. I mean, it's just an outrageous accusation for you to make when your response to somebody about critical outcomes is, I'm curious. I mean, no, that's the huge failure. That is a non-answer to a question. It's a preposterous answer to a question.
Or colloquially called Christian ethics, I guess.
Well, again, another bullshit slander, okay? My ethics have nothing to do with Christian ethics, and if you really want to look at Christian ethics, actually read the Bible and read the Sermon on the Mount, it's clear that Jesus' ethics are your ethics. Run away from your intelligence. Don't try to manage reality. Go back to the fucking eat bug nature. That's Christian ethics. So you don't even get that one right, you liar. Okay, what the fuck? Go explain to me how Jesus wasn't advocating running away from attempting to manage life. Just like you. You're the fucking Christian.
Yes. Inevitably fail. They inevitably sort of turn into something that, in my opinion, approaches nihilism, because it's using tools that are really inappropriate to dealing with something.
Right, so he's basically just saying here, attempting to say that somehow using your intelligence to analyze your psychology is wrong. Judging, okay, the elements of your psychology, that's inappropriate, because they're God-given. And like I said, he's just using the inverse argument, okay? He's trying to destroy the other God so he can replace it with his stupid God. The DNA molecule.
As complex as the human being.
Yeah, well, again, the argument was that it's not so fucking complex, is it? That was the whole point of creating the model of it, is to point out that it is not that complex. All you're doing is seeking a gratification of desires mostly contrived by biology to stimulate and motivate you to interact in a world to gain this thing called satisfaction or comfort. And that it's not complex at all. It's goddamn dirt, ugly, simple. But you didn't make a counter-argument to that simplicity. You just keep pretending there's something more complicated going on. And there isn't. You're a need machine, and you have this capacity to do intelligence, and you're using it now just to say, what does my psychology want? I'll use my brain to give my psychology what it wants. So, yes, and by that definition, more fail videos, more American Idol, more just hedonistic, grotesque bullshit the world should run on, and it should drown in its own fluff and feathers and frivolity by your sentence, by your declaration.
There comes a point where, and you actually made the point very eloquently in your denunciation of me, which I believe is sincere. I don't think that you're just being abusive. I believe you're sincere.
Well, again, it doesn't even matter. I don't see how it could possibly be called abusive. It's an honest opinion. So yeah, fuck that bullshit. I don't like you.
But that sort of, as I say, shows the nihilism inherent in guilt-based ethics.
Well, again, it has nothing to do with guilt. It's called rationality, and rationality exposes truth. I've already been through this, right? Number 4 or 3 or whatever. All right. Guilt is the byproduct of realization. Guilt is a byproduct of recognition of failure. Period. It's not any more complex than that. Your intelligence shows you that train wreck is not good. You caused train wreck bad, you bad. Not complicated at all. And I've made it clear that the emotion of guilt is useless, but the fact that you're going to have the byproduct of failure when you fail is just the consequence of being intelligence. Intelligence is going to show you your failure.
And just believing that there are good actions and there are bad actions, and people who consciously do the good actions knowing that they're good are good people, and people who consciously do the bad actions knowing that they're bad are bad people.
Right, so that's just a complete misparaphrase, right? I mean, it would be good if our intentions could make it so, but that isn't good enough, and I've made that point, that fucking Mother Teresa could be completely wrong. She could be going out and we could give food to the poor, and we could think that we've done a good thing. And in the end, we did a horrible thing because they just used the money to make babies. They just used the food to make babies who ended up poor, stupid, and starving. And the starving problem got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it created a huge, gigantic, suffocating disaster. So sometimes good intentions absolutely suck. And I made it clear that the bottom line, the end result, isn't known until the end. You have to go all the way to the end of the game to know whether you played a good game or not. And that's just a tragic fact of life that we can't know for sure. But what we can know is probabilities. What we can know is that something has a 90% chance and something has a 10% chance. You can't spend all day investing in the 10%ers, okay? That's just plain fucking not intelligent.
To me, that's pretty darn close to nihilism.
Well, again, just a full bullshit word doesn't mean a goddamn thing, okay? You're the one who says it doesn't matter. The end results of tragedy and prosperity have no distinction, and you have no responsibility for somehow causing one result or the other result. You're the one who has nihilistically obliterated responsibility and accountability and direct interaction. You're denying the basic physics of existence, all right? So you're obviously the nihilist. Yes, I'm nihilistic on fables and fantasies about special purposes. That's right, I'm nihilistic on special purposes. The fact is, you're a replicating molecule, you have a psychology, you have intelligence. These things are not mutable together, so you can't smash them together without destroying one of them. You will destroy the intelligence if you make it a servant to the fucking biology. And that's just a fact.
Because the unfortunate fact is, we are what we are.
Which, no, it is not a fact. We obviously are not what we are, okay? Biologically, we're the same fucking animal we were 40,000 years ago, and that was just an asshole, a plain functional asshole. It wasn't flying to the moon, it wasn't curing any diseases, it wasn't comforting and healing, it was fucking just a brutal, sick, stupid animal. Alright, so obviously we are not what we are. That is just an absolute crock of shit. Okay, we are what our character, what our conditioning, what our ideals make us. Period. Okay, we are philosophers now, whether we like it or not. That's what you fucking are in the world. You're a thinker. Okay, and you can think logically and reasonably and well, or you can think like a butt-fucked motherfucking retard. And we know which one you're doing right now, buddy.
We are human beings. We have complex natures.
Again, it's not that complex. You can argue that the brain is complex, but you really can't argue that our nature is complex. I'm hungry. I'm horny. This is not complex.
Just don't fit into nice, neat little...
Yes, it does. I'm hungry. I'm horny. I have an ego that needs gratifying. I need to feel special. I need to feel accomplished. I need to feel cool. I need to be cool. I mean, this is not fucking complicated. It fits into easy, simple categories. We have a psychology. That's the truth. We have intelligence. That's the truth. Intelligence good, psychology fucktarded.
Things like a simplistic moral structure that
Oh, again, simplistic moral structure. Feeling good is good, feeling bad is bad. Oh, that's too simplistic. No, it isn't. It's all the game is about. Again, you break the goddamn... Again, you sit there, made a video, said, yeah, I get the game metaphor. Okay, that's what we're really playing for. It's comfort, it's simplistic, it's obvious, it's right there in front of us. And then you're just denying it. So you are lying. Plainly.
Its bottom relies upon coercion. When all else has failed, we coerce.
Whatever, yeah, we coerce with words in sentences saying things like, well, if you cut the railroad tracks, the train is going to crash. And blood and screams and yells and fire and, oh, not good at all. So please, don't cut the railroad tracks. Oh, ain't it awful? How dare you speak those words?
And the coercive force, in the case of your argument, is guilt and denunciation.
No, the coercive force is intelligence, information, enlightenment, making somebody awareness. These are the things you're saying bad. You can't have that. Don't do that. Don't make people aware. Don't tell them they have a psychology. Don't explain their psychology. Don't explain that there are consequences. Don't explain that their impact reaches into the future. Don't explain the very fact that that's their life. No, just pretend you're just living in a moment and you can do whatever the fuck you feel like. Fuck you, that's stupid.
What do you do when the power of that argument runs out? We're not in medieval Spain anymore. You can't. The Grand Inquisitor can't just say, "Look, I wash my hands of you. You're beyond help."
It's another Hitler reference almost, right? So here he's comparing the philosophy where it's detailed out. It said, look, just prove one of my premises wrong. Just prove one of them wrong. Replicating DNA, whatever. Or just show me some glimmer of evidence of the existence of your special purpose, your special God. So it's right there on the table. All right, the Grand Inquisitor didn't do that. He didn't put his credentials on the line and say, look, just demonstrate my God to be bullshit, and you're off the hook. He didn't provide that opportunity, did he? No, he didn't. So this is a bullshit argument. I'm not the Grand Inquisitor coming down with my dogma saying you didn't please God. I'm saying here's the goddamn truth. Give me one fucking good reason to think any one of these premises are wrong, okay, and I'll shut the fuck up. But you're not doing that.
I turn you over to the state now because I've done everything I can. I've done my best with you. You're just not getting it. You're beyond help now. Now, of course, what that presupposes is that the Grand Inquisitor is in a position to say and to know who is and who is not beyond help. The
presupposition, again, my Grand Inquisitor statement, again, is not God says so. I'm not holding up the Bible and saying you didn't meet up to a dogma. I'm saying here's a philosophy, okay? It points out that, yeah, feeling bad is bad, feeling good is good. Yeah, and that we are interacting in the world and therefore causing effects that cause good and bad in the world. There's the fucking dogma I'm shoving down your throat, saying that's what I'm basing my judgment on. And all you have to do is just show me one little piece of rust on those basic themes, and you're not doing that.
Supposition there of the Grand Inquisitor is that he is infallible. And there's a great deal of presupposition of infallibility in your, I presume, parting tirade.
Well, yeah, again, how can I possibly perceive infallibility when I haven't been given one rational sentence explaining how I'm wrong? Not a single rational sentence. People evade responsibility for the train wreck by saying, well, I saw the tracks today, the train's not going to come by till tomorrow, so how the fuck do you know it's going to wreck? And even if it does, that's tomorrow. What does today have to do with tomorrow? No, that train doesn't even exist yet. The train's still in St. Louis. How did I wreck the train? I mean, this kind of illogic where they can't even run the model a few seconds into the future and acknowledge the fact that they have changed the future, that when they prevent the train from crashing, it's a good thing because the train didn't crash, not because the train did crash and you pressed the undo button. No, you prevented a bad, and that's a good. Yeah, when I have to argue with that kind of convoluted nonsense, Yeah, you're not going to deflate my infallibility perception.
Again, I believe that it's sincere. Um, but again, I would hold that up as an example of what happens when you over-rely on something.
Yeah, well, you're not showing any example. You're not showing any. You're not only are you not showing me to be infallible, you haven't shown how I failed. Again, Einstein not saying I can't talk to a babbling baby about fucking, complex physics is not exactly Einstein's failure. I mean, it isn't. All right? The baby didn't win the argument, jackass.
In an ethical system. I do believe, strangely enough, that you've abolished guilt. Because you pushed the utility of guilt to the point where we either abandon guilt or we abandon our nature.
No, we just concede that we're not going to be infallible. We just concede that we're allowed to make errors in practice because we're animals. That animals can't jump through the hoops perfectly. They can envision perfect, but they can't do perfect because they're fallible, flawed animals. So you concede to the fact that you're not going to live up to your own expectations. You're not going to be the person you want to be and hope to be. You're just going to be as good as you can be. And that's all you're required to be, is to make some fucking effort to get through the fucking goddamn minimal hoops. And that's all you have to do, get through the minimal fucking hoops. Alright, but we're certainly going to applaud if you go for the high end, the smallest hoops possible, and they got flaming nuclear reactor fire on them, and you go through those. I'm going to fucking applaud.
I know what most people would do, given that choice.
Well, again, that's an irrelevant argument. I'm already arguing with most people, quite obviously. I'm arguing with the ethics of most people already. I'm already condemning them as assholes already. So guess what? That argument means nothing.
So, okay, if you understand that, and you still persist in that, okay, that's, I guess, if that's how you choose to sort of end your relationship to the world, and what...
Well, whatever, yeah, like Gandhi, or like Martin Luther King, or like anybody who changed anything, or anybody who fought for anything, Jim Brown, all kinds of different people who did things that were completely hostile to conventional notions of fact and fiction. Yeah, that's right. That's the category that's the hoop I'm striving for. Yeah, why not? Because it's the right thing to fucking goddamn do.
The world is probably going to do and continue to be. That's entirely up to you.
Well, says you, whatever. Your predictive capabilities I have no confidence in, considering you're going blah 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 blah, goo goo gaga gaga. I really don't think you could predict anything.
I'm not a psychologist, but I'm sure that there are people who have been doing this, sort of saying me and humanity now part company, since...
Yes, I'm sure Nietzsche did that. I'm sure Schopenhauer did that. And I'm sure most of the German philosophers did that, because they're all kind of dark on the whole game anyway, right? I mean, that's all philosophers end up a little bit dark because they have to acknowledge things. They have to sit there and look at the fucking nature of human beings, and they gotta say, oh my god, they're disgusting.
Humanity existed. Is there a resolution to this? I don't think that there actually is.
Well, I think the resolution will come with time, okay? Time will tell. Either people will have intellectual integrity, or like you, they'll have no intellectual integrity. And that'll be the deciding factor. Either they're going to completely destroy their intellect and say, I'm going to be a completely dishonest motherfucker to evade responsibility, or not. And so I'm just going to try to invest in the fact that complete intellectual dishonesty won't win.
But I do say that...
I mean, won't win in the overt sense, okay, in the argument among the intellectuals. And then the intellectuals will eventually have the problem of dealing with all the fucking ignorant assholes they've created. You know, that they sat back and just let take over the world. All the fucking monstrously uninformed and uneducated creepoids they justified and defended the creation of.
As I say, we've gotten to the point where you either do away with guilt or you do away with humans continuing to be humans.
Well, again, it's just, you know, it doesn't really, again, you do away with guilt if you have intelligence. If you're an intelligent person, you recognize it as an emotion and you control it. You do just say, well, this is stupid. Let's, you know, instead of obsessing about the fact that I failed, let's find a new way for me to succeed. That's what an intelligence does. It's not going to harp on its failures. It's going to sit there and keep striving for improvement.
And as such, at that fork in the road, I believe that your position has effectively abolished guilt.
Well, I mean, again, if it you complained at guilt's existence, now you're complaining that guilt doesn't exist. So either way, I just don't care. This concept of guilt, in my opinion, is a psychological phenomenon, has nothing to do with a philosophical conversation about reality other than acknowledging the fact that people feel guilt and acknowledging the fact that, well, theoretically, it's a residue. It's a byproduct. It doesn't have anything to do with true function. The true function is recognizing failure. The true function is not guilt.
If you want to push it that far with the human race, then what you're doing is you're removing the very thing that lies at the heart of your ethical prescription.
Yeah, well, I don't buy that argument, okay? The ethical prescription is a rational prescription. It's an intellectual prescription. It can't be annihilated by some absence of emotion. So, bullshit.
Ironic, isn't it?
No, it's a complete canard. A complete canard. So you just, you know, straw man canard. Canardo the Magnificent you just created. Canardo the Magnificent. Okay, and he's straw all the way down. Turtles, straw. Turtles, straw turtles all the way down.
Guess I'll see you around.
Yeah, whatever. Not if I see you first, as they say.
Well.
yeah. I got a grenade. Anyway, whatever, you crazy bastards. So let's just do a Luddite thing real quick here. It's ironic that efilist lament accused parents would be procreators with playing God. A would-be procreator may proceed grounded in a particular understanding of risk-benefit or of ethics, etc., playing God for one entity, while an efilist would enter in imposing non-procreation via law or killing all sentient. So again, you just don't recognize the dilemma, right? The fact is, you can't undo God playing unless you undo God playing. You have to fight the first God player. Right? There's no other way to stop the God playing game. You have to go back to the first one. Right? Idiot? Moron? Insane person? You can't undo God playing with non-God playing. That's the nature of God playing. It has a permanence about it. It has a no undo button. It has a nothing you can do about it kind of nature, except you have to God play the God player. There's no other way to combat Moses' serpent except to throw a serpent at it or some kind of crap like that. I mean, I have to get into a God-playing contest to stop God players, you dumbass. Man, you're so fucking stupid. Let's see what he said. The mere act of passing judgment is playing God. Well, now that just says it all, doesn't it? It does. I mean, doesn't that just say it all? That's right. We're the closest thing. It's either us or a DNA molecule. Gee, which one has the bigger brain? Which one knows how to maybe fly the plane? And you're sitting there saying, no, leave the DNA molecule alone. It knows what it's doing. Why? Because, I don't know, it gave you what? I won't bother saying something rude. But clearly you're just sitting there, you got it way up your ass. In the video you mentioned good bad actions linking to people who become good bad people in light of their actions. To clarify, as almost overwhelmingly anti-nihilists are the purest consequentialists around. Well, I mean, you really, what the fuck? You truth and consequences, fucker. I mean, really, I cut the fucking tracks on the train. That's right, the train crashes. Yeah, that's right, I caused the train to crash. Not complicated. Who, thereby, are simply not interested in people. Well, again, we're interested in people, but we're not, what we're interested in is optimizing people's function. Again, optimizing. You're the ones who won't do anything right. You won't goddamn do anything right. You won't concede the fact that you're living on vapors, and then you won't even sit there and say, if we cut you a little bit of slack and say, well, fix your goddamn nest before you lay eggs, you won't even concede you have a responsibility to do that. I mean, really, you can't even say that much. Yeah, well, I didn't build a nest and I laid the eggs, but yeah, everybody else that shouldn't. Because you're afraid of being a grotesque hypocrite. That's right. You gave your kids $20 trillion in debt. Bravo, brilliant man. Virtue ethics would have it. With efilism, a person's hedonic states always come before the persons before persons. Well, again, yes, that was the premise of the model. He didn't disagree with the premise of the model. Okay, we're striving to make things sentient beings, to take them from negative states to non-negative states. Yeah, not that complicated. You think that somehow that's a rape of humanity, to oblige them to be rational, to be reasonable to the facts, to accept the fact that they can't go around cutting railroad tracks because they're curious. In other words, anti-nihilism is an ethics of prostitution. Or whatever that even means. You know, fuck you, Luda. You're a language manipulator, a perverter of intelligence. And so Gary was left alone in the big bad forest to contemplate the fact that he was just another hermit throwing a tantrum at reality. The end. Crowd cheers. Yeah, whatever. That's just too fucking brilliant. Oh, no, it isn't, actually. It's totally useless baby talk. Yeah. People. So anyway, enough said. Enough said. Yeah, this really should be it. I can't see what else he could... There's nothing he could respond to now, right? We've gone over all of the fundamental lies of the previous videos, the premises he didn't accept and pretended to accept. So we know he doesn't accept any of the premises. He doesn't accept that intelligence increases functionality. He doesn't accept that the value being exchanged is basically suffering and pleasure. These are the values. So he doesn't accept the premises. He just lied that he was going to concede the premises for the purpose of a conversation. So yes, there's no conversation because he's a insane, crazy person who doesn't accept the existence of the most fundamental facts of our existence. DNA replication. DNA does not have a big brain. DNA has no brain.